Coming up on UCF Nightly News. Find out how one campaign funded several of UCF's buildings.
And see what steps are being taken to add another off-campus housing complex.
Plus, learn how some UCF students are taking action to preserve water.
In sports, we'll take a look at the AAF's suspension of football operations.
Nightly News starts now.
Good afternoon and welcome to Nightly News. I'm Brianna Sorensen.
And I'm Chris Tran. Today is Friday, April 5th, 2019. The Ignite campaign is a few months from ending. Nightly News reporter Nick Santiago tells us more on where the campaign is at.
With 90 days left and $479.5 million raised as of December 31st, the Ignite campaign is looking to finish as strong as they started. The Ignite campaign, starting back in July of 2011, is the biggest fundraising event UCF has ever done. Chief Executive Officer of the UCF Foundation, Michael Morsberger, says the money from the campaign helped fund the downtown initiative, renovate and build for athletics, but more importantly, give back to students and staff.
We've raised $170 million for students and student experience, primarily via financial aid and things of that nature. I think well over $200 million has been raised for faculty research, also teaching excellence.
Morsberger did not feel confident, though, when he first came on board to help with the fundraiser. He believed the $500 million was too high and that they wouldn't be able to reach that mark. Now, with over 100,000 individuals and organizations that have donated, like donor Phyllis Klock, the campaign is hopeful of reaching that goal.
Education, higher education, changed my life in very, very significant ways, and I feel an opportunity or a desire to give back as a consequence of that.
Once the Ignite campaign comes to an end, Morsberger says they'll start preparing for the next fundraiser. In Orlando, Nick Santiago, UCF Nightly News.
The campaign will release its official number next semester in October during homecoming week.
Teacher pay in Florida fell to number 46 in the nation, making it one of the lowest teacher salaries in the U.S. Nightly News reporter Abisola Adeyemo tells us what this means for future educators.
Do you value a career where you're making a difference?
That's what school counseling student Jessica Pierce says when it comes to Florida teacher salary. She says teachers who stay in the field value impact despite the low pay. However, Pierce says it's unfortunate because teachers deserve better pay.
The lower pay, the quicker we're going to push out those great educators. They're just not going to stick around if the pay's not great. So I think it's really sad.
Florida moved from 45 to 46 in the nation for the lowest teacher pay. Orange County Teacher Association President Wendy Doromal says teachers often have to work part-time jobs to make ends meet. She says private and charter schools should not be funded in the same way as public schools.
We should not be using our tax dollars to fund unaccountable charter and private schools. They're not held to the same standards as public schools are, and they're draining our funds for public schools.
Private and charter schools often have more resources for teachers, while public school teachers pay out of pocket for supplies. Notebooks, colored pencils, pens, all common classroom items that teachers have to buy with their own salaries because public schools have low funding. Pierce says if you are passionate about teaching, to still go for it no matter the pay. In Orlando, Abisola Adeyemo, UCF Nightly News.
Currently, Florida's Best and Brightest program gives teachers yearly bonuses based off of student test scores. However, no legislation is in place to raise the base salary.
On Thursday, 4 student teams will compete for $75,000 at the UCF Joust competition. This competition is a premier startup showcase event for students hoping to start the next latest and greatest company. The competition started with 16 semifinalists, and now only 4 remain. The 4 teams will have the opportunity to pitch their company ideas to a panel of expert judges in a Shark Tank format. Director for the UCF Center of Entrepreneurial Leadership, Cameron Ford, says that the competition this year is better than ever.
This was actually a really good year. We had a near record of applicants. The scores on the applications were quite high, so it was actually extremely hard to get into the semifinals this year.
This new venture competition will be open to the public on Thursday, April 11th at 3:00 p.m. The event will take place at the Fairwinds Alumni Center on UCF's main campus.
The Labor Department released that over 196,000 jobs were added in March, according to its monthly report released this morning. While the job market is rising, more students are starting to work. However, is this enough to cover student debt? Nightly News reporter Rachel DeChico has more on the story.
UCF's colors may be black and gold, but some students say all they think about is green. And some students say that even with scholarships or financial aid and grants, sometimes it's still not enough to get by. Researchers at Georgetown University say that 70% of college students work while enrolled, and more than half of those students say they work out of necessity.
Sometimes we'll have 3 tests a week, and it's not like I can cut back the hours I'm working because it's a necessity to pay rent and have a place to live if I want to come to the school. Students aren't just worried about money in school. The 2019 Princeton Review's Hopes and Worries survey reveals that 43% of college students are worried that they won't be able to pay off their student loans.
They're worrying about paying off their debts in the future. Some of them are still scraping by. I honestly have seen people push themselves so far that it's unhealthy.
Despite their best efforts to balance school and work, some students say financial worries have led them to neglect their studies and in some cases cut back on enrollment hours. In Orlando, Rachel DeChico, UCF Nightly News.
For students struggling with debt, UCF will observe Financial Literacy Month throughout April. For more information, visit the Office of Student Financial Assistance.
UCF's annual Universal Nights event is back this year at Universal's Islands of Adventure theme park. This Sunday, 12,000 nights will take over the park. Students can either take chartered buses from UCF or download a free parking pass off the SGA website. Students who are not able to obtain a free ticket can still get into the park. Tickets at the gate will be sold to the first 2,000 people for $58. Gates open at 4 p.m. and the park closes at 1 a.m.
Chris, it's been a while since we've had this much rain. This morning it was pouring.
Yeah, you know, that's true, but it's a great day to just stay inside and just watch some movies. Rachel, how's the rest of the day looking for us?
Thanks, Chris and Bree. Well, right now your current temperature is at 75 degrees and humidity is at 60%, so it's kind of high. May feel muggy and sticky outside. We have winds coming at 10 miles per hour from the southwest, and with it is coming a front of rain that's going to affect us later in the week. But for later today, we are going to see some showers, unfortunately, typically between 2 and 3 o'clock leading into later tonight. If you plan on going out, I recommend staying inside. If you're like me, you don't like rain, maybe just stay in, pop some popcorn, cuddle up with your significant other, and watch a movie. If you don't have a significant other, you have a pet, you can cuddle with them. Right now, our rain chance is at 30%, but like I said, it's Florida. That can go up or down depending on how the weather changes anytime, but right now this is going to be our constant. Later on in the week, it will get worse. You're going to want to get your jacket and your umbrellas ready for what's coming later next week, later on in the week, and we're going to toss it back to Chris and Bree.
Thanks, Rachel. Coming up after the break, there's a plan for more housing to be built for UCF students, but at what cost?
And see how UCF artists are displaying their artwork around campus.
some art students at UCF ditched the canvases and took to campus to showcase their artwork. Students enrolled in the mixed media course were challenged to create installation art, site-specific work that can activate spaces. Students in the course got to pick the space that best suits their art. Art was strung across walkways, some under stairs, and some just out in the open. One even featured a secret doorway that revealed more elements to the piece. Each installation included a bio that explains the inspiration behind the art and who created it. The art will only be up for 2 more days.
UCF Celebrates the Arts kicks off tonight. The annual Arts Festival opens with the Tony Award-winning musical Titanic. The festival, which features UCF students, faculty, and staff, also highlights Central Florida community members. Some pieces featured include family-friendly shows, interactive events, and Puerto Rican-inspired art. The festival lasts until Sunday, April 14th, with tickets available at arts.cah.ucf.edu.
Student housing is looking to expand right off campus, but first they need to acquire the property. Nightly News reporter Dylan Lyons tells us more about this proposed complex and how students feel about this new option.
This Burlington coat factory along Colonial Drive near Alafaya Trail could soon be converted into a student housing complex. Landmark Properties submitted a request to the Orange County Development Review Committee, and they're looking to acquire more than 11 acres of land to rezone to a 162-unit, 650-bed student housing complex. UCF freshman Jordan Berger says he hopes that this project is built so there are more options for students.
Honestly, there's not enough housing now for people, so another one would be great.
UCF sophomore Hector Vega echoes the same message as Berger.
I think it's good that there's going to be more housing for students.
UCF Assistant Director for Strategic Communications Mark Shaloub says the enrollment total at the university was more than 66,000 in the fall of 2018. And he says on campus they can house about 7,000 students, but he says off campus there are 19 housing complexes for students in a 1-mile radius. And Vega says if this construction project goes through, he would like to see 2 things happen on UCF's end.
It's like adding the shuttle to that same place and definitely add more parking.
Now I reached out to Landmark Properties, the management company who would oversee this new property, but they've not returned my request for comment. We'll keep you updated on this project. But for now, reporting in Orlando, Dylan Lyons, UCF Nightly News.
Now, there are still more steps that need to be taken in order to allow the property to be approved and built. Nightly News is reaching out to Burlington's corporate office for comment, and we'll share that information with you as soon as we have it. When we come back, Rachel DeChico will deliver our 5-day forecast.
And think your eyes are playing tricks on you? Learn why smoke is recently covering the campus.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. And if you've noticed, it's been pretty smoky around campus. And that's been the case these past couple of months with multiple controlled burns. Urban Forestry has been conducting prescribed burns for years at UCF. And the foresters want people to know the benefits of the fires instead of just seeing them as trouble. Urban forester and biologist John Guziejka says lighting land on fire is helpful and not hurtful.
The wildlife loves it. I mean, obviously when we're burning, we burn in a way to allow for the most wildlife to escape. So we usually wait a little bit to finish the fire, so it leaves a little bit of an avenue for the animals to go.
Guziejka says plants also thrive off of the flames, and it actually helps certain flowers and trees grow. The other noticeable benefit is the decline in invasive plants. As of now, there are no other planned for the rest of the semester.
The club Ideas for Us at UCF dedicated this month to look into the water crisis. Their April Hive meeting focused on water conservation and use. Water conservation was the main focus for students on Thursday. They learned about water sanitation and the various ways they can conserve water. The UCF branch organizer, Kristin Anderson, said the goal is to spread awareness and to give students the ability to feel like they can do something about our environmental problems.
Sustainability is everybody's thing. Like, we want to share not only our resources, but also ideas, and we also want other people to share their ideas with us. We're very open to new projects from the student body.
Next month's focus will be on solar energy. To find out more, visit their Instagram at ideasforus.ucf or their Facebook, Ideas for Us UCF.
Although today isn't looking too bright and beautiful, I'm looking forward to the weekend.
Yeah, me too. I'm going over to Universal Nights this weekend, so I'm hoping for some great weather. Rachel, how's it going to look for us?
Chris, you're going to want to bring a jacket and an umbrella, unfortunately, because this weekend we are going to see some showers. It's going to be a little bit chilly during the nights, but right here we have the highs for you. All right, we're seeing highs now in the upper to mid 80s right now, except for up in the state, up north in Florida. We have Tallahassee and Jacksonville here in the 70s. We're going to move on to your lows now. In Tallahassee, we have 64, Jacksonville 64, pretty consistent. Tampa's going to remain at 68. Orlando is going to be the coldest at 66, so like I said, you're going to want to get those jackets out. And then Miami, of course, is going to, it's always warmer in Miami, it's going to be 73 degrees. And now here we have your 5-day forecast. Chris, like I said, I'm sorry, you're going to want to bring an umbrella, bring a jacket, because, you know, even though it's only a 20% chance of rain, you are going to see showers probably later on in the day while you're at Universal Nights. And then moving on to Sunday, of course, temperatures stay pretty consistent during the day. It's going to get a little bit warmer at night. Moving on later in the week, you are going to see thunderstorms, all right? So that's where you're really going to want to take caution. Don't drive fast on the roads. You know, take your time getting to places. Keep that rain gear out. On Wednesday, if you have any plans to go outside later in the week, maybe strawberry picking, that's something I like doing with my girlfriend, you're going to want to save that for Wednesday and the weekend, all right? And that's all we have today for the weekly forecast. We're going to toss it now back to Chris and Bree.
Thanks, Rachel. After the commercial break, Zach Winnicky tells us about the history of pro football in Orlando.
And the war on I-4 is back this weekend on the baseball diamond.
Good afternoon, Knights fans. I'm Zachary Winnicky. Let's take a look at UCF sports this week. The War on I-4 kicks off this weekend as UCF baseball takes on USF in a 3-game series. The Knights come into this one after a 13-4 win Tuesday against Stetson. Both the Knights and the Bulls have a 1-5 record in conference play and will look to get out of the cellar. The Knights have been strong at home this season, going 15-5 at John Euliano Park. Head coach Greg Lovelady says the offense needs to continue to produce after its stellar showing this weekend this middle week against Stetson.
I mean, laying off elevated pitches, being able to walk more, and then being able to, especially early in the count, get pitches that we can do damage on and use the big parts of the field.
The Knights will send Chris Williams to the mound tonight. First pitch is set for 6 p.m. UCF guard B.J. Taylor continues to impress even after UCF's elimination from March Madness. Last night, Taylor finished second in the State Farm three-point championship in Minneapolis. Taylor competed against the best three-point shooters in the NCAA. After the first round, Taylor was in 4th place with a score of 21. In the semifinals, he beat out Houston's Corey Davis Jr., but then fell to Loyola Chicago's Clayton Custer in the finals 18-14. Taylor will now prepare for the NBA draft in June. And the Knights men's golf team tees off tomorrow at the Augusta Haskins Award Invitational. The Knights came in first place last weekend at the FAU Invitational down south in Boca Raton. Bobby Bai shined with a tournament best 6 under par. It is the final tournament for the Knights before the AAC Championship later this month. And UCF softball looks to stay hot. The Knights will put a 10-game winning streak on the line this weekend when the team faces the Wichita State Shockers in a 3-game series. UCF seeks its first win over Wichita State in program history after being swept last season in a 3-game series. This is Wichita State's first ever visit to UCF and their first conference road trip of the season. First pitch is scheduled for 6 p.m. And the fallout continues after the unexpected suspension of operations by the AAF on Tuesday. Here in Orlando, it was reported that UCF will not be getting the $1 million owed to them by the AAF for the lease of Spectrum Stadium. And around the league, players have tweeted out about being left with the bill for the team hotel, as well as having to cover their own recovery for injuries sustained while playing in the league. Yesterday, the AAF tweeted from their official account that all players were authorized to sign with NFL teams, effective immediately. As of this morning, 4 have, including a couple of Apollos. And there are some silver linings if you were an Apollos fan. The team was named the AAF champion by the online betting site FanDuel, who did make payouts to those who bet on the Orlando franchise. And according to the Apollos, the team is taking home some non-existent hardware. They claimed an AAF title after finishing with a league best record 7-1, and technically, they are the winningest team in AAF history. They also have quarterback Garrett Gilbert listed as the league MVP, as well as Steve Spurrier as coach of the year. And some players have found new football homes. Cornerback Keith Reeser signed with the Kansas City Chiefs yesterday, and Garrett Gilbert will sign with the Cleveland Browns. And this isn't the first time we've seen pro football fail in Orlando. The Apollos were the 8th team since 1965 to come to Orlando, and only 2 made it more than 2 seasons. The first was the Orlando Panthers, who played in the Continental Football League from 1965 to 1971. They were able to win 2 championships in that time. Then the Florida Blazers made it 1 season in the WFL in 1974. The USFL moved a team to Orlando in 1985, but they never played a game. From 1991 to 1992, it was the Orlando Thunder from the World League of Football. The Predators had the longest and a fairly successful run from 1991 to 2016. Then the Rage from Vince McMahon's XFL played 1 season in 2001 before folding. You have the Tuskers, who gave it a whirl from 2009 to 2010 before moving to Virginia. And finally, you have the Apollos in the AAF, which didn't make it through the first season. But don't worry, football fans, because there's another one coming. The Predators that I just mentioned, they relaunched this season and will be playing in the upcoming National Arena League season. They kick off next Saturday at the Amway Center and feature former UCF quarterback Kyle Israel. And that's all I have for sports. We're going to toss it back to Bree and Chris at the desk.
Thanks, Zach. So, Chris, are you going to Universal Nights this weekend?
Of course, yeah. I picked up my ticket like a couple weeks ago.
That line, though.
Yeah, it was so long.
It was so long, but what is your favorite ride?
My favorite ride is probably the Hulk. I'm a big roller coaster guy, so yeah, the Hulk's
I love that
my favorite.
First initial when it just takes off.
Yeah, they just shoot you off.
Mine's Jurassic Park.
Yeah, all right.
But that's all the time we have for right now. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can always keep up with us during the week on our website, nightlynews.ucf.edu.
And if you've got a story idea you want us to know about, send it our way. You can reach us on our Twitter at UCF Nightly News. Thanks for watching and have a great day.